I didn't call 911, and my alarm didn't go off.
Ma'am, we still need to verify. Standard procedure.
Can you give me your badge number? I'll call your station.
This is a well...
It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. A doorbell rings at a nice house in Atlanta. A woman checks her phone. She sees two police officers standing at her front door. "Atlanta PD," one says through the intercom. "We got a 911 call from this address about a break-in. Need to check everyone's safe inside." The woman pauses. Something feels wrong. "I didn't call 911, she says, "and my alarm didn't go off." "Ma'am, we still need to verify. Standard procedure." She's not buying it. "Can you give me your badge numbers? I'll call your station." The officer's voice gets harder. "This is a welfare check. We need you to open the door. Now." "I'm calling 911 to confirm you're real officers," she says calmly. You can hear panic in the man's voice. "She's calling it in," he whispers to his partner. Then louder, "Ma'am, you're interfering with police business. Open this door immediately." Marcus Stevens and Carlos Rodriguez had no idea what they just walked into. In the next 4 minutes, 6 real police units would surround the house. 8 security cameras would capture every frame of their crime in 4K video. Their cheap Halloween costumes would be exposed under floodlights. The easy target they chose was Federal Circuit Court Judge Patricia Williams. She was 52 years old. She'd spent 18 years sending criminals to prison. She knew this scam. Her $40,000 security system had cameras everywhere. Front door, driveway, interior rooms, even the backyard they'd try to escape through. The moment they pulled out that crowbar, every second was being recorded. The footage was uploading to the cloud. Real Atlanta police were already on their way. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever questioned someone's authority when something felt wrong? Drop your answer in the comments. But Stevens and Rodriguez had no idea who was watching them through that camera. Judge Patricia Williams wasn't just any homeowner. She was a federal circuit court judge in Atlanta. She'd been on the bench for 18 years. Before that, she was a prosecutor for 12 years. She graduated from Harvard Law School. The judge had seen over 200 criminal cases from her bench: organized crime, gang violence, home invasion rings. She'd sentenced criminals who used the exact same tricks these men were trying. She was considered a national expert on home security crimes. She'd written legal opinions that ended up in law textbooks. Other judges cited her work. After one particularly bad home invasion case in 2019, she made a decision. The victims in that case had no cameras, no proof. The criminals walked free. Judge Williams installed a $40,000 security system in her own home. 8 cameras in 4K quality, motion sensors, glass break detectors, cloud backup. If her door or window was forced open, the system would automatically call the police. She lived alone in the nice Buckhead neighborhood. She knew the risks. Criminals often targeted wealthy areas. They assumed people would have valuables and slow police response. On this Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m., Judge Williams was just reviewing case files in her home office. She had no idea 2 career criminals were about to pick the wrong house, the absolute worst house they could have chosen. Now here's what happened next. Marcus Stevens and Carlos Rodriguez had been running this scam for 8 months. Stevens was 34 years old, white male. He'd worked construction but was unemployed. He lived in Marietta, just outside Atlanta. Rodriguez was 28, Hispanic male. He used to work as a security guard. He got fired for stealing. Police would later find out about 11 attempted home invasions across Atlanta, all in 8 months. Every single one used the same trick: fake police uniforms, made-up 911 calls, wealthy neighborhoods, always between 10 p.m. and midnight. Let me tell you about their previous attempts. In May 2023, they targeted an elderly couple in Sandy Springs. They claimed there was a gas leak. The couple called the fire department to check. Stevens and Rodriguez ran before anyone arrived. In July, they tried Dunwoody. They dressed as detectives, said they were investigating a neighborhood burglary, but the homeowner was an actual off-duty Atlanta cop. He recognized their fake badges immediately. They barely escaped. In October, they hit the same Buckhead neighborhood where Judge Williams lived, just 3 streets away. They used the welfare check lie. That homeowner opened the door, lost $15,000 in jewelry before the men disappeared. Atlanta police had an active task force tracking them. Ring doorbell footage from 6 incidents. The FBI was involved because impersonating federal officers is a federal crime, but no arrests yet. The men changed vehicles, used burner phones, stayed ahead of investigators. Type "caught" in the comments if you think they deserved what's coming. What Stevens and Rodriguez didn't know, their pattern had been studied. Every police station in Atlanta knew about them, and they were about to try their scam on someone who'd sent men just like them to prison for decades. November 14th, 2023, Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m. The location, 3400 block of Northside Drive in Buckhead. This is one of Atlanta's nicest areas. Homes worth $1.2 to $2.5 million. Tree-lined streets, very low crime. The temperature was 52 degrees, light fog in the air. Most homes were dark except for porch lights. The street was empty, just the occasional car passing on the main road. Judge Williams's home was a 2-story brick colonial, circular driveway, nice landscaping. The exterior lights turned on when they sensed movement. A security company sign stood in the lawn. The judge was alone inside. She was working in her second-floor office, reviewing legal documents for tomorrow's court session. Neighborhood security had driven by at 11:30 p.m. They wouldn't pass again until 1 a.m. The nearest occupied home was 150 feet away. At 11:43 p.m., a black Honda Accord parked on the street. Police would later discover the license plates were stolen. 2 men got out. They wore what looked like real Atlanta police uniforms. Dark blue, utility belts, radios that looked official, badges pinned to their chests. They walked confidently to the front door. Judge Williams's doorbell camera turned on automatically. Recording started. She got an alert on her phone. She looked at the live video feed. 2 officers at her door. Her first thought, I didn't call 911. Stevens rang the doorbell. The judge pressed the intercom button. Can I help you? Stevens gave his rehearsed speech about a 911 call and a break-in report. If stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe. We expose the truth about what really happens when criminals pick the wrong target. Judge Williams had seen this exact trick in court 6 months earlier. Home invaders using fake police uniforms. She knew the playbook. That's when everything changed. Stevens repeated his story. Ma'am, we got a 911 call from this address. Someone reported a break-in. Judge Williams spoke clearly. I made no 911 call. My security system shows no breach. Rodriguez jumped in. Ma'am, we still received the call. Could be a malfunction. Maybe a neighbor got confused. The judge wasn't backing down. What's the case number for this call? And your badge numbers? Stevens stammered. You could see it on camera. Ma'am, this is just a welfare check. We don't have a case number yet. Rodriguez provided a fake number. 74291. Judge Williams made her decision. Her voice stayed firm. I'm going to call Atlanta Police Dispatch right now to verify you're real officers. Stevens' body language changed. Tension filled his shoulders. Ma'am, you're delaying an emergency response. We need to verify your safety. If this is legitimate, you'll wait while I verify. I'm calling 911 now. Rodriguez whispered to Stevens. The doorbell mic picked it up perfectly. She's calling it in, man. Stevens turned back to the camera. His voice got aggressive. Ma'am, you're interfering with police business. Open this door immediately, or we'll have to make entry for safety reasons. Judge Williams knew she was right. I'm a federal judge. I know my rights. You will wait while I verify your credentials, or you will leave my property. Stevens' anger exploded. I don't care who you are. This is a police matter. Open the door now. Then Rodriguez did something that sealed their fate. He reached inside his jacket, pulled out a crowbar. Stevens pulled what looked like a service weapon from his holster. Both men looked around nervously, making sure no one was watching. Rodriguez started prying at the door lock. Judge Williams watched on her phone from inside. They're breaking in. They're actually breaking in. The scene played out in terrible silence. Just the sound of metal scraping against metal. Rodriguez working the crowbar. Stevens standing guard with his fake gun. No witnesses were outside. The neighborhood was quiet. No one to help. But Judge Williams wasn't panicking. She was already moving, heading to her pre-planned safe room on the second floor. Her security system sensors detected forced entry. At 11:51 p.m., automatic alerts went out to her monitoring company, to 911 dispatch. The monitoring company called 911 immediately, reported home invasion in progress, federal judge's residence, suspects impersonating police officers. Judge Williams also called 911 from her safe room, gave the same information. Let me know in the comments. Would you have opened the door or called 911 like she did? Stevens and Rodriguez didn't know any of this was happening. They thought they were pulling off another easy job, just another wealthy homeowner, another quick score. The front door lock broke at 11:52 p.m. They were inside, but what they didn't know, Judge Williams' security system had already flagged this as a high-priority emergency. Real Atlanta police units were already driving toward the house, lights and sirens, high speed, and every second of the criminal's actions was being recorded in perfect 4K video from 8 different cameras, uploading automatically to the cloud where it could never be deleted. The front door swung open. Stevens and Rodriguez walked into Judge Williams' home. Interior cameras captured everything. Their faces, clear and detailed, their movements, their fake uniforms now visible under bright lights. Rodriguez headed straight upstairs, toward the bedrooms where people usually keep jewelry. Stevens went into the home office, the same room where Judge Williams had been working just minutes before. The cameras documented every move. Stevens opened desk drawers, grabbed a laptop worth $2,400, an iPad worth $899, 2 folders of documents, car keys from the counter. Upstairs, Rodriguez found the master bedroom, opened jewelry boxes, pocketed necklaces, watches worth $15,000. rings, cash totaling $600. The kitchen camera showed Stevens grabbing more items. The hallway camera showed Rodriguez checking other bedrooms. Total time inside, 3 minutes and 47 seconds. But those seconds were about to cost them 45 years of their lives. At 11:55 p.m., the 1st Atlanta Police Unit arrived. The officer saw the black Honda parked on the street. 2 more units pulled up within 30 seconds. Real police surrounded the house. A sergeant used his loudspeaker. "Atlanta Police, anyone inside, come out with your hands visible now." Inside, Rodriguez heard the announcement. Panic filled his face on camera. He ran downstairs. Stevens met him in the foyer. "Back door," Rodriguez said. "Go." Both men sprinted toward the kitchen, through the mudroom, heading for the back door, but they made a fatal mistake. The back door opened into a fenced backyard, no escape route. 2 Atlanta police officers were already there, weapons drawn. Atlanta police, on the ground now, hands behind your head. Stevens and Rodriguez froze. They dropped the stolen items, hit the ground immediately. Officers moved in fast, handcuffs on both men within 15 seconds. Miranda rights read at the scene. The officers secured the fake weapons, replica Glock pistols, the crowbar, all the stolen property. Both suspects were placed in separate patrol cars. Wait until you hear what Judge Williams told the police next. Inside the house, Judge Williams heard the sergeant call out. She opened her safe room door, walked downstairs carefully. Sergeant James Morrison stood in her foyer. Judge Williams was still wearing business casual clothes from working late. Her first words changed everything. "Sergeant, I'm Federal Judge Patricia Williams. Those men are not police officers. They forced entry into my home. My security system recorded everything from the moment they arrived." Sergeant Morrison's face went pale. He understood immediately. Fake officers had just tried to rob a federal circuit court judge. He called his supervisor. Then he called the FBI field office. The entire house became a crime scene. Crime scene investigators arrived within the hour. They reviewed all 8 camera angles, doorbell footage showing the initial approach, every lie the men told, interior footage showing forced entry, the burglary, every item they touched. The audio was crystal clear. Even their whispered conversations were recorded. Cloud backup meant nothing could be deleted or lost. Every frame was preserved as evidence. Type karma if you think they got exactly what they deserved. By midnight, Stevens and Rodriguez sat in custody. Their fake uniforms were being photographed as evidence. FBI agents were already reviewing the security footage. One agent told Judge Williams, "Your Honor, this is the most thoroughly documented home invasion case I've seen in 15 years." The 2 men who thought they'd found an easy target had committed federal crimes against a federal judge, with every single second captured in video quality good enough for any courtroom in America. The case that would send them to prison for 45 years each had been building itself automatically. While they pried open that door, while they stole those items, while they ran from real police, they never stood a chance. At 12:47 a.m., FBI Special Agent Rebecca Torres arrived. She worked out of the Atlanta field office. This case fell under federal jurisdiction for 3 reasons. First, impersonating federal law enforcement. Second, the victim was a federal judge. Third, interstate commerce was involved. The stolen vehicle, the fake uniforms purchased online from other states. Agent Torres met with Judge Williams. They sat at the dining room table. Torres reviewed the security footage on a large monitor. Judge Williams walked her through the complete timeline, the approach, the lies about a 911 call, her requests to verify their identity, their threats, the forced entry, the burglary, the arrest. Agent Torres shook her head. "Your Honor, this is the most complete evidence package I've seen in 15 years with the FBI." Then the suspect's story started falling apart. During his interview, Stevens claimed, "We were responding to a legitimate 911 call. We're auxiliary officers." Reality: Atlanta police dispatch records showed 0 911 calls from that address all week. Stevens and Rodriguez had no connection to any law enforcement agency anywhere. Background checks revealed both had felony records. That automatically disqualified them from any police work. Rodriguez claimed, "We were let in, the door was open." Reality: the doorbell camera showed Rodriguez using a crowbar for 43 seconds. Interior cameras captured the door frame splintering. A locksmith later documented forced entry damage worth $200. Stevens tried another lie. "We didn't take anything. We were just checking the house for intruders." Reality: cameras showed Stevens pocketing the laptop, the iPad, 2 folders, car keys, Rodriguez taking jewelry worth $8,700, 3 watches worth $15,000, cash totaling $600. Forensic teams examined the police uniforms. They found purchase records. Spirit Halloween website, October 2023. Price, $49.99 each. The badges were plastic costume accessories. Amazon purchase, $12.99. The police radios were children's walkie-talkies. They didn't even work. The duty belts came from an airsoft tactical gear website. The weapons were 1-to-1 scale Glock replicas, airsoft guns. The orange safety tips had been painted black to look real. Everything was fake. Everything was evidence. Officers searched the stolen Honda Accord. Inside, they found a notebook. It contained addresses of 8 other Buckhead homes, Google Maps printouts with wealthy neighborhoods marked, a second set of fake uniforms, lock-picking tools, more burglary equipment. They found a laptop. It had photos of previous victims' homes, surveillance pictures taken days before the break-ins. If you believe security cameras should be in every home, hit subscribe. We're exposing criminals who think they can get away with this. On November 15th at 9 a.m., the U.S. Attorney's Office filed federal charges. Count 1, impersonating federal law enforcement officers. That's 18 U.S.C. Section 912, up to 3 years per count. 2 counts total. Count 2, home invasion. That's 18 U.S.C. Section 2111, up to 20 years. Georgia State added more charges: burglary, 1 to 20 years, possession of burglary tools, 1 to 5 years, criminal conspiracy, up to 5 years. At the arraignment, Stevens tried to claim mistaken identity. The judge played the doorbell footage right there in court. Stevens' face filled the screen, clear as day. His defense attorney had no response. Rodriguez claimed Stevens forced him to participate. Prosecutors showed text messages between them, planning the crime, discussing how to split the money. Those texts destroyed his defense. Both men pleaded not guilty initially. The U.S. magistrate judge held a bond hearing. The prosecution argued against release. 3 reasons: danger to the community based on 11 prior attempts, flight risk because they used stolen vehicles and burner phones, severity of the charges against a federal judge. The judge denied bond. Both men were sent to federal detention. No release until trial. Within 24 hours of their arrest, Stevens and Rodriguez went from thinking they'd pull off another easy burglary to facing federal charges. Charges that could send them away for decades, and the security footage that captured their entire crime was about to become very public. November 16th, 2023, 6:00 p.m. Atlanta police made a decision. With Judge Williams' permission, they released edited doorbell camera footage. They wanted to warn the public about fake police home invasions. By 6:45 p.m., local Atlanta news stations aired the footage: WSB-TV, 11 Alive, Fox 5. The evening broadcast reached 400,000 Metro viewers. At 8:00 p.m., Atlanta police uploaded the video to YouTube, to Facebook, to Twitter. By 9:30 p.m., 50,000 views across all platforms. Shared 2,000 times, trending on Atlanta social media. By 11 p.m., national news picked it up. CNN, NBC News, ABC News. The headline: Fake cops target federal judge, caught on camera. November 17th, midnight. The video hit 500,000 views. It was trending on Twitter nationally. Hashtag fake police scam. By 6:00 a.m., 2.1 million views. Good Morning America featured it. So did the Today Show. November 18th, 8.5 million total views across every platform. The breakdown: YouTube from Atlanta police official channel got 3.2 million views. Facebook got 2.8 million views and 45,000 shares. Twitter got 1.9 million views and 30,000 retweets. TikTok news clips got 600,000 views. Instagram got 500,000 views. People couldn't stop watching. The footage was too clear, too dramatic, too perfectly documented. Top comments got tens of thousands of likes. This is why you always verify police identity. Judge Williams is a hero for staying calm. These guys targeted a federal judge. The stupidity is off the charts. That security system paid for itself in one night. Every frame is courtroom-ready evidence. Respect to Judge Williams for knowing her rights and not opening that door. CNN brought in a legal analyst. He said, this case will be taught in law schools for years. NBC ran an investigative report. They identified 11 other Atlanta area victims through doorbell footage. CBS News covered the broader trend, the FBI warning about nationwide fake police home invasions. Ring, the doorbell camera company, wrote a blog post about the case. They offered Judge Williams an upgraded system. She politely declined. ADT and SimpliSafe used the case in their marketing, showing how security systems provide evidence. Share this video if you think everyone needs to see how these scams work. Atlanta police held a press conference. They demonstrated how to verify real officers. Call 911 dispatch. Ask for badge number verification. Real officers will always wait. They understand your caution protects everyone. The FBI issued a nationwide alert, warning about the impersonation trend in major cities. 3 days after the video went viral, the U.S. Attorney's Office made an announcement. They'd linked Stevens and Rodriguez to 11 other home invasions. Total victim losses: over $340,000. The case that started with 2 criminals thinking they'd found an easy target became a national story. Millions of people watched, millions shared, and everyone learned the same lesson. Verify before you open your door, even if they look like police, especially if something feels wrong. February 2024. The U.S. Attorney Ryan Buchanan announced new charges, a superseding federal indictment. It added all 11 linked home invasions. New total, 47 federal counts. RICO conspiracy for running an organized criminal operation. Multiple counts of impersonation, home invasion, wire fraud for using the internet to buy fake uniforms. Interstate transportation of stolen property. FBI forensics pulled everything from the suspect's laptop. Photos of 23 potential target homes. In Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte. Text messages detailing previous successful burglaries, online purchase records for fake uniforms from 3 different suppliers, bank records showing $89,000 in cash deposits over 8 months, money from selling stolen goods. A task force identified 11 confirmed victims, all from doorbell footage, stolen property that was recovered, bank records matching the thefts. The victims, 2 elderly couples from Sandy Springs and Alpharetta, 1 single mother from Decatur, 3 married couples from Buckhead, Dunwoody, and Roswell, 2 widows from Sandy Springs and Marietta. Total losses across all victims, $340,000, jewelry, electronics, cash, items with sentimental value that could never be replaced. March 2024. Defense attorneys tried to negotiate. The prosecution made one offer: plead guilty to all counts, testify against any other people involved, accept a 45-year sentence per defendant, no chance of parole. The alternative, go to trial, face potential 60-plus years if convicted on everything. April 2024. Stevens and Rodriguez accepted the plea deal. They pleaded guilty to all 47 federal counts. In court, both had to admit what they'd done: the pattern of home invasions, impersonating police, targeting elderly and vulnerable victims on purpose. The sentencing hearing happened June 18, 2024, federal courthouse in Atlanta. Judge Williams was allowed to give a victim impact statement. A different judge handled the sentencing. 8 other victims came to court that day. The sentences came down. Marcus Stevens, 45 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility under federal guidelines. Must serve minimum 85%. That's 38.25 years before any release consideration. Lifetime supervised release after that. Carlos Rodriguez, 45 years in federal prison. Same terms. No parole. Minimum 85%. Lifetime supervision. But wait, there's more. Financial restitution. Both men were held jointly responsible. $340,000 to victims for stolen property, $127,000 for property damage and security repairs, $89,000 disgorgement of criminal proceeds, total $556,000. Stevens and Rodriguez had no assets, no money, no property, but the judgment stays on record forever. Any money they ever earn gets garnished. Prison jobs, future employment if they're ever released. Everything goes to victims first. Judge Williams filed a separate civil lawsuit: intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, property damage. She was awarded $4.8 million in punitive damages. Again, the men had nothing, but the judgment meant something important. They could never profit from their crime. No book deals, no movie rights, no media interviews for payment. Everything gets seized to pay the judgment. Stevens lost any chance at construction work after release, any job requiring bonding, security clearances, licensed professions, all gone. Rodriguez's security licenses were permanently revoked. No law enforcement eligibility ever again. No gun rights. Nothing. Both men were banned for life from Fulton County and DeKalb County, except for required court appearances, restraining orders protecting all 12 victims and Judge Williams. During sentencing, neither man apologized. Stevens' attorney read a brief statement. Mr. Stevens regrets his actions. That was it. Rodriguez stayed silent. The judge noted their lack of remorse in the sentencing decision. It reinforced the maximum penalties. Comment justice if you think 45 years was the right sentence. Stevens and Rodriguez thought they'd found easy money, wealthy homes, quick scores. They got 45 years each in federal prison for trying to rob one of the most powerful judges in the federal system. But the impact of their case went way beyond their prison sentences. June 18, 2024, right after the sentencing, Judge Williams stood on the federal courthouse steps. Media cameras surrounded her. She made a statement. For weeks after this happened, I couldn't sleep in my own home. Every sound made me check my phone's camera app. I'm a federal judge. I've handled violent crime cases for 18 years, and I was terrified in my own bedroom. That's what home invasion does. It steals your sense of safety. She paused, composed herself. I've sentenced dozens of home invasion defendants from my bench. I always understood intellectually what victims experienced. Now I understand it personally, the violation, the fear, the anger that doesn't go away. And I had advantages most victims don't have. A $40,000 security system, legal expertise, resources for prosecution. Most people don't have any of that. Judge Williams looked directly at the cameras. You have the right to verify anyone claiming to be police. Real officers will wait while you call 911 dispatch. Real officers will give you badge numbers. Real officers understand your caution protects everyone's safety. Never open your door if something feels wrong. Trust your instincts. Her voice got stronger. If you think impersonating police gives you authority, understand this. It makes your crime federal. It adds years to your sentence. It removes sympathy from judges and juries. And if you're unlucky enough to target someone with cameras, legal knowledge, and resources, you'll spend decades in prison regretting that choice. Judge Williams shared what she wanted changed. She testified before the Georgia legislature, supporting a bill requiring verification protocols for police welfare checks, mandating body cameras for all law enforcement interactions, stricter penalties for impersonation, subsidized home security systems for elderly homeowners. Thank you to Atlanta Police for responding in under 4 minutes. Thank you to the FBI for their thorough investigation. Thank you to my security company for technology that documented everything, and thank you to the neighbors who've supported me through this. Her final words: everyone deserves to feel safe in their own home. That's not a privilege for the wealthy or the powerful. That's a basic human right. And anyone who violates that right by impersonating those sworn to protect us deserves every year of the sentence they receive. Judge Williams' case exposed a bigger problem. The FBI documented 847 cases of criminals impersonating law enforcement to break into homes in 2023. That's up 34% from 2022. Victims lose an average of $28,000 per invasion. 18% suffer physical assault. Only 23% of home invasion cases result in arrest. Only 11% end in conviction. Judge Williams' case was different because of the video evidence. 67% of fake police home invasion victims are over 60 years old. Criminals target them on purpose. They're less likely to question authority. This isn't rare. It's an epidemic, and most victims can't afford the security systems that saved Judge Williams. So let me ask you, should only wealthy homeowners afford security technology that provides evidence? Should impersonating police get treated as regular burglary with light sentences? Should we keep telling people to just comply with anyone wearing a badge? Because if we don't make security affordable for everyone, if we don't prosecute impersonators with maximum federal penalties every time, then we're just waiting for the next Stevens and Rodriguez, the next terrified homeowner watching criminals break down their door, the next 45-year sentence that comes too late to prevent trauma that never heals. Comment below if you believe every home deserves the same security that saved Judge Williams, regardless of income or neighborhood. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding accountability. We're going to keep fighting for affordable security, for harsher sentences, for a system where your safety doesn't depend on your bank account. This isn't just about one federal judge or two criminals in fake uniforms. It's about all of us. See you in the next one.